Hey Spurs fans, welcome back to another update on our San Antonio Spurs. Before we jump into today's breaking news, make sure to subscribe to the channel and hit the like button. And here's something special for you. Everyone who subscribes and leave a comment with their name and the city they're watching for will automatically be entered into our giveaway to win an official San Antonio Spurs jersey. So don't forget to subscribe, like the video, and comment your name and city below. Stay tuned, because the next Spurs fan wearing the jersey could be you. The atmosphere in San Antonio has taken on a new rhythm ever since the first images surfaced of Victor Wembanyama back in action inside the team's training facility, creating an immediate wave of anticipation that spread from the quietest staff members to the most passionate fans. After a little more than 20 days away and surrounded by uncertainties regarding the evolution of the injury that affected his left calf, the young phenomenon reappeared with renewed energy and movements that surprised even members of the coaching staff, reigniting the debate about the precise moment he will return to official competition, especially with the team approaching a crucial stretch of the NBA Cup, where every detail can determine the trajectory of the season. His full participation in group practice restored a sense of confidence within the facility, not only because he completed every drill without any visible limitations, but also because his body language suggested a level of physical solidity not seen since the issue was detected in mid-November 15th, the date that marked the beginning of an absence that kept him out of 10 consecutive games. The stretch away from the court generated debates among analysts who feared a setback in his recovery, but every movement displayed during his return indicated the opposite, as if the rehabilitation process had followed a near-perfect script. Even without their French centerpiece during this period, the San Antonio Spurs surprised league observers by securing 7 victories, demonstrating that the roster, though young, has shown signs of competitive maturity that could serve as the foundation for more ambitious goals. Along with Wembanyama, 2 key guards, Stephon Castle and Jordan McLaughlin, also returned to practice, strengthening the belief that the group is finally entering a phase of physical and tactical restructuring at a decisive moment in the campaign. Among the most enthusiastic reactions, rookie Dylan Harper stood out for the unusual honesty of his remarks. He described the collective sensation of seeing everyone back on the court as something close to an internal rebirth, a reconnection with the group's competitive identity. He emphasized that, despite the team's resilience in the pivot's absence, Wembanyama's presence inevitably transforms their style of play, increasing intensity, commanding respect, and enhancing system efficiency. Meanwhile, a journalist present in the gym reported that the Frenchman moved with impressive natural fluidity, completed high-intensity individual exercises, and wore no protective equipment on the affected area, a detail that elevated expectations even further. Still, according to a medical source, the team is committed to a strict plan of caution, which is why there remains a strong possibility that he could be kept out of game action for approximately 2 more weeks before another in-depth evaluation. The careful approach is understandable, given that the young star's recent history included delicate episodes. Last season, he played only 47 games due to a series of minor injuries combined with a thrombosis condition that required constant monitoring. With that background, any rushed decision could pose risks down the line, and the franchise clearly understands that the athlete's long-term health is far more valuable than any immediate result. Despite the prudence, it is impossible to ignore that Wembanyama's statistical performance this season borders on extraordinary. With averages exceeding 26 points, 12 rebounds, 4 assists, and 3 blocks per game, the Frenchman has redefined expectations of what a dominant young player can look like in today's league, establishing himself as an essential piece for any competitive ambition the Spurs may hold. These numbers translate to improved spacing, elite rim protection, and versatile scoring that forces every opponent to redesign its defensive strategies. The moment he stepped onto the practice floor, there was a noticeable shift in the rhythm of internal communication. Quicker conversations, sharper instructions, and a renewed sense of urgency. The roster, though inexperienced, seems to intuitively understand that every step taken by the towering Frenchman shapes the franchise's future, and his presence alters the dynamic for everyone, from veterans fighting for minutes to rookies attempting to establish their identity. Wembanyama's gradual return has also drawn intense national and international media attention, with reporters closely tracking any update, even those reaching them through secondary sources. Inside the organization, each medical observation is handled with discretion, and every detail involving muscle response and physical thresholds is analyzed by specialists attempting to anticipate possible scenarios. There is also heightened concern regarding workload, particularly with the NBA Cup schedule tightening in the coming weeks. Before we go on, make sure to subscribe and hit that like button. Your support keeps our Spurs coverage strong and brings you the latest updates straight from San Antonio. And jump into the comments. Tell us what you think about today's news. The moment the video began circulating online, grainy, abruptly cut, and reeking of secrecy, fans across the NBA were thrown into a frenzy as a hooded figure, unmistakably resembling Stephen Curry, stepped out of a private jet painted in black and silver, sending shockwaves through social media and igniting a level of curiosity that only a true blockbuster storyline could produce. Especially when whispers began to surface that this mysterious arrival in Texas was tied to a bombshell announcement. That the San Antonio Spurs had somehow, against all odds, convinced the greatest shooter in basketball history to sign a stunning 3-year contract, a move so unbelievable that journalists, insiders, and even rival executives scrambled to verify if the footage was real or simply the fever dream of a fan base desperate for a new era of dominance. As the initial disbelief turned into widespread speculation, the narrative gained more layers when trusted NBA reporters began hinting that the Spurs front office had been quietly building toward a monumental acquisition behind the scenes, crafting a pitch that blended the franchise's long history of stability with the tantalizing promise of pairing Curry with the generational phenomenon Victor Wembanyama, creating a duo so unprecedented and so stylistically perfect that analysts were already debating whether the rest of the league stood any chance of slowing them down, especially with Curry supposedly expressing a desire to play in a system where his leadership and creativity would be fully embraced. The excitement surged to an even higher level when sources close to the organization claimed that Curry's camp had been impressed not only by the Spurs' vision, but also by the sincerity of Greg Popovich, whose legendary basketball mind and reputation for maximizing talent played a crucial role in convincing Curry that San Antonio could offer him something he had quietly yearned for in his later career, a chance to mentor a rising superstar while still competing at the highest level, fostering an environment where his influence would echo long after his final shot swished through the net. As more information leaked, fans became enthralled by the behind-the-scenes details revealing that negotiations had been underway for nearly 2 months, masked by clever misdirection and silence from both sides, showing that the Spurs had meticulously prepared a presentation highlighting how Curry would fit into their emerging structure, emphasizing his potential to redefine the franchise's identity and usher in a renaissance that would not only bring national attention back to San Antonio, but also position the team as a legitimate contender for years to come. The emotional component of the deal soon took center stage as reporters noted that Curry, despite his historic tenure with Golden State, had been wrestling with a personal desire to challenge himself in a new environment, seeking a fresh chapter that would allow him to step into a leadership role untouched by the growing tension in the Warriors' locker room, making San Antonio's calm culture and family-oriented approach a uniquely appealing option that ultimately tipped the scales in their favor. In the swirling conversation around Curry's motivations, insiders highlighted that Wembanyama had played a surprisingly significant role in the recruitment process, reportedly reaching out to Curry with heartfelt messages expressing admiration for his career, describing how he had grown up idolizing his style of play, and explaining that joining forces in San Antonio could create a brand of basketball the world had never seen, an alluring partnership that spoke deeply to Curry's sense of legacy and long-term influence on the game. Meanwhile, Spurs fans from all corners of Texas began flooding social media with celebrations, artistic edits, speculative lineups, and even emotional videos reacting to the news, with some longtime supporters claiming they hadn't felt this level of electricity since the prime years of Tim Duncan, Manu Ginobili, and Tony Parker, and that the mere thought of Curry slipping on a Spurs jersey had revived memories of an era defined by championships, unity, and the quiet dominance that once defined the franchise. As attention intensified, rival teams reportedly expressed frustration and disbelief, with some executives questioning how San Antonio, often perceived as a small-market franchise lacking glamorous appeal, had managed to pull off such a monumental move, prompting analysts to credit the Spurs' flawless long-term planning, organizational stability, and reputation for developing talent with far more integrity and intention than most teams could hope to replicate. Rumors soon circulated that Curry's decision was not financially motivated, as several teams had allegedly offered more lucrative deals, but instead driven by the opportunity to be part of a transformational basketball project centered around Wembanyama, whose presence alone was said to be a gravitational force for big-name players seeking not only success, but also meaningful basketball experiences capable of shaping the next decade of the league. In the midst of this uproar, the Warriors' fan base responded with a mix of heartbreak, gratitude, and confusion, with many supporters acknowledging that although the news was devastating, they understood Curry's desire to explore a new challenge, and some even expressed admiration for the courage it took to make such a monumental career shift, particularly one that could reshape the Western Conference in dramatic fashion. As the first official reports confirmed the signing, the narrative took an even more dramatic turn when it was revealed that Curry had personally spoken with Popovich for nearly 3 hours during a private meeting in Los Angeles, discussing not only basketball strategy, but also life, family, mentorship, and culture, suggesting that their bond transcended mere tactical alignment and was rooted in a shared vision for what basketball could still represent in its purest form. This revelation added a touch of emotional depth to the story, positioning Curry's move not as a shocking betrayal of his past, but as a carefully considered next step, driven by personal fulfillment, professional ambition, and a clear desire to leave a lasting imprint on the game by nurturing the next generation of stars, with Wembanyama serving as the centerpiece of that mission. As the reactions poured in from around the basketball world, former players, coaches, and analysts chimed in, praising Curry for embracing a new challenge and applauding the Spurs for orchestrating one of the greatest free agency coups in modern NBA history, with some even predicting that the league would never be the same again as San Antonio now possessed a combination of shooting, size, intelligence, and creativity unmatched anywhere else. The excitement only grew when the Spurs released a cryptic promotional image featuring a silhouette of Curry standing next to Wembanyama under the caption, "A New Era Begins," sparking a wildfire of speculation about how the team would structure its offense, how spacing would look with Curry's unparalleled shooting gravity, and how defenses could possibly manage the dual threat of the league's most feared shooter paired with its most unique physical specimen. Fans and analysts alike began envisioning plays where Curry's off-ball movement stretched defenses to their breaking point, while Wembanyama's length and mobility opened lanes and disrupted defensive schemes in ways never before seen, creating an offensive system that could evolve into the most innovative and unguardable style of the decade, pushing boundaries and redefining what modern basketball could become. As more press material surfaced, the Spurs emphasized that Curry would not only serve as a primary scorer and playmaker, but also as a mentor to their young core, including Wembanyama, Devin Vassell, and Jeremy Sochan, forming a tightly knit unit capable of growing together under the guidance of one of the most respected leaders the sport has ever produced, further amplifying the belief that San Antonio was building something truly historic. With excitement at a fever pitch, countless sports shows dedicated entire segments to discussing the implications of the signing, some suggesting that this move might inspire other star players to consider San Antonio as a legitimate destination, while others argue that the combination of coaching stability, elite young talent, and now superstar presence position the Spurs as the premier franchise of the future. The Spurs training staff also found themselves thrust into the spotlight when analysts highlighted their unmatched reputation for preserving player longevity, a factor that reportedly appealed deeply to Curry as he enters the later stages of his career, as he sought an environment that would protect his body while maximizing his ability to contribute meaningfully on the court for several more seasons. Meanwhile, Wembanyama's reaction to the signing became a viral moment when he posted a short but powerful message on social media expressing disbelief and excitement, stating that he felt honored and motivated to share the court with a player who had shaped his basketball dreams, a sentiment that resonated deeply with fans and underscored the emotional magnitude of the partnership. The media attention surrounding the signing also triggered renewed interest in San Antonio as a city, with travel websites reporting spikes in searches and local businesses preparing for an influx of fans, journalists, and tourists wanting to witness the beginning of this new era firsthand, highlighting the cultural and economic ripple effect of Curry's arrival. In interviews, Spurs executives described the process as delicate and highly strategic, emphasizing that their approach focused not on flash or theatrics, but on authenticity, long-term planning, and a genuine respect for Curry's values, signaling a refreshing contrast to the often chaotic and transactional nature of NBA negotiations. Behind closed doors, team insiders revealed that the Spurs were already developing specialized offensive sets tailored to Curry's strengths, including motion-heavy formations reminiscent of his prime with Golden State, but with new wrinkles designed to incorporate Wembanyama's length and versatility, blending familiarity with innovation in a way that promised to unveil one of the most dynamic offensive systems in recent memory. Speculation continued as fans debated who would assume secondary playmaking responsibilities, with many analysts suggesting that Curry's presence would unlock new dimensions in Vassell's game, giving him the space and confidence needed to emerge as a legitimate scoring option capable of relieving pressure in crucial moments, thereby strengthening the team's overall balance. On the defensive side, experts pointed out that the combination of Curry's improved perimeter defense and Wembanyama's elite rim protection could give the Spurs a unique defensive identity, allowing them to switch freely, pressure ball handlers, and close out shooters with unprecedented effectiveness, turning the team from a developing squad into a championship-caliber defensive force. As the days progressed, details of Curry's contract surfaced, revealing a carefully structured deal that provided both flexibility and long-term commitment, showcasing the mutual trust between player and franchise, and further cementing the idea that this partnership was built on shared values and collective ambition rather than short-term gains. The excitement crescendoed when it was announced that Curry would be formally introduced at a massive event at the Frostbank Center, where thousands of fans were expected to attend, creating a spectacle that promised to echo energy from the Spurs' championship days and mark the official beginning of a new chapter defined by star power and renewed hope. In preparation for the unveiling, the city of San Antonio began decorating streets, storefronts, and public spaces with banners and murals celebrating Curry's arrival, blending local pride with global fandom and reinforcing the idea that this signing transcended basketball and evolved into a cultural moment of unity and anticipation. Meanwhile, former Spurs legends publicly voiced their support, noting that Curry's humility, professionalism, and dedication aligned perfectly with the franchise's long-standing values, making him an ideal torchbearer for the next era of Spurs basketball and lending credibility to the belief that this move could produce long-lasting success. As training camp drew nearer, excitement shifted toward potential preseason highlights, with fans eagerly imagining Curry's first assist to Wembanyama, his first deep-range three in a Spurs uniform, and the first glimpse of how seamlessly their games could blend, fueling predictions that the team would quickly rise from rebuilding status to championship contention within a single season. Amid all the anticipation, Curry himself released a heartfelt statement expressing gratitude for his time with Golden State while expressing excitement for the journey ahead, stating that he believed deeply in San Antonio's project and felt energized by the opportunity to contribute to something new, meaningful, and historically significant, underscoring his genuine commitment to the franchise. Analysts responded by exploring how Curry's leadership style, built on empowerment, communication, and positivity, would impact the Spurs' young roster, with many predicting that his mentorship could accelerate their development at an unprecedented rate, creating a foundational culture centered on excellence, discipline, enjoy in the game. That's it for today's update. If you enjoyed the video and want to stay on top of every exclusive San Antonio Spurs news drop, make sure to subscribe and hit that like button. And don't forget, your opinion matters to Spurs Nation. Share your thoughts in the comments below. See you in the next video.